I welcome as a guest Alex Perry.
And I want to preface that I have not been prepared for any of these questions.
Thought you loved me. Lately, there's a barrier.
Yeah, maybe I am angry. The anger is good. It's not bad anger.
Welcome to Alex Perry on Fire. Today's format is going to take a little different turn because today in the hot seat, in his own studio, with his own crew and with his own mother, I welcome as a guest Alex Perry.
Thank you. With the crew and the mother and everybody else, it sounds like I got a big operation going on here. So
I'd actually like to correct something I've said already. It has never been a hot seat for your guests. The research and the way you pose questions to your guests has brought out some remarkable life stories. They have never been threatened by sitting in the guest chair. What it's provided for an audience is an ability to know yourself a little better, to have some empathy, some sympathy, some Me Too moments, and just some feel good, I can grow from this. So my aim today in a very amateur capacity is to gently grill Alex and elicit some of those same responses that can give you, the audience, the same experience with him as a guest.
Oh, that was put very eloquently. You can grill me hard.
I'm not planning to grill you hard, but let's get right to it. Could you tell the audience, give the audience 2 or 3 absolutely defining moments in your life?
Yes. And I want to preface that I have not been prepared for any of these questions. So whatever comes to mind is purely from what you've just asked. Defining moments. The first one that comes to mind, makes me emotional. It was dropping Elliot off at Seasons at the treatment center. And I'm going to do what I was taught, which was take a breath. We both looked at each other and we were honest with each other. We had hid, not consciously, but we had hid a lot of stuff from each other. And I think, well, I don't want to think, I know, it was pure vulnerability. And so I was reminded, in the best of ways, which I'll smile now about, is that if you can't be fully vulnerable with your twin brother, what are you living for? And so in the best of best ways, it took off the mask. We both, you can see my body language is changing as I'm uncomfortable sharing this, but we both took off our masks. And what that means is we weren't hiding stuff from each other anymore. And that was an opportunity for growth, huge, huge growth for us as a relationship. But also, you asked me, individually, me, I just realized I was going to live my life differently from that point. I've said this on the podcast. I have a lot of love, and I don't think I was comfortable showing it outwardly. And that flight home reminded me that I should be showing it outwardly, that I would have regretted not showing it enough to him, and that I wanted to share that with the people I loved. And so there's number one, and that hit me pretty hard. The next life-changing event, well, and I can stop you right there, I don't see it as a negative because it was such a vehicle for growth. So if you were stuck in neutral in your life or not showing enough love in your life, and you said this happened in your life, and it allowed the family to see love, and it allowed the family to look at things differently, with pain and also not losing a family member, you would argue that that could be the biggest high ever.
Yes.
But it took a low and time to see the high. So from a defining moment, it didn't just define me, it could help define how we look at the family, not on me, but just a way of saying, can we look at things differently? Can we see things? Can we open our eyes? Can we say we ignored this as much, not because we didn't love, because we didn't know how to deal with it. And we've grown from it. So I don't see it as a negative, although extremely emotional and hard and sad. I don't see it as a
I fully
negative.
appreciate that. I am learning all the time. The object of the podcasts is to learn and to grow. And I sit here with my first question, which I had rehearsed asking you and thinking how you might answer. And I'm blown away by the depth and what you provide with that answer.
I'll never forget this, is that I was younger, probably maybe 18, maybe younger. I don't even remember. And we had a dinner in London with your uncles, your brothers, my uncles and cousins. And we went to this fancy steak restaurant and, just such good food. And your Uncle Tom, or my Uncle Thomas, your brother Thomas, picked up the tab. And I said, thank you. And he said, if I'm going to spend money, it's going to be on my friends and family. And so
What a lovely
makes me,
answer again. I'm making my son emotional. I've
makes-
managed to do that very often.
makes me emotional
in
because
my life.
it's the truth, the hard truth, the truth for me does make me emotional in my life right now. And that stuck with me because I wanted to provide that same value that he did for his family and friends. So
You have taken on that role in a very lovely way. You have done that.
But the joy
that.
in working hard for that, that's my joy. So I get to repeat that all the time to people when if I'm fortunate enough to pick up a tab or do something nice, right? It doesn't have to be picking up a tab, but the idea of it is from him. Defining moments are interesting. I think you hit defining moments down the road when you have perspective or you've reflected on it. And I remember Adam, who's one of your nephews, one of my cousins, saying to me at one point, you never really know. This was 5 years ago or 6 years ago. You never really know when you're on the top until you realize you're no longer there.
Very interesting.
And
yes.
At the time, I dismissed the quote. Right now, I know exactly what he meant. And so I think in time, these things happen in your life. I wouldn't have told you 3 years ago that the most important thing was, or most defining moment might have been Elliot. I wouldn't have known at that time.
No man is an island is what this is saying. You are not an island, and it's all people, things that really hit home at a certain point.
And at a certain age, right?
Yes.
At a certain age, and with time and reflection, you get a different perspective of it. At some point, I mean, again, I think as I sit here with a new word of being humbled in life, you don't know if that moment could happen today. You don't know if it could happen tomorrow. You don't know.
How would you say your father-son relationship is now regarding your father in real estate and you today? Is there a specific bond because of that, a respect, or are you in the business because you love the business?
When I was growing my business, I found respect because I learned how much business he did. And I was like, how did you do this without phones and without all the technology we had? How did you do this? I asked him that. And he's like, I didn't have a life. I worked all the time, whether that's true or not. But he said he worked all the time. And again, I asked him other questions like, hey, Dad, why didn't you invest in real estate? Right? Like, we see a lot of stuff. Why didn't you invest? And he said, well, I had 4 sons and living a life in LA, and I just didn't have the income to invest like that. And so the way I took it when I was learning or when I was growing my business, was learning from him, asking him questions as they came to me. I think I learned from him that selling a home was never about me. It was always about the client.
Yes.
He never bragged about his clients. He never talked about, I mean, he liked that it was anyone would because it was Hollywood. He liked that he had, but it was never about him. I think Allie Beth taught me it was never about her as well. So I had good people paving the way. Said, this is not about you. You are a facilitator. I think Dad did a really good job of making me feel comfortable in that. But I never looked up to Dad as a mentor. And I think that's just the relationship we had. He was more of a friend and a welcoming human than he was a strong arm father figure. That just was never the relationship we had. So I think it was always nice to make him proud in an industry he was in. And I laughed about following in his footsteps, but I laughed about being my father's son with wearing clothing that he'd wear or cars that he'd drive or stupid things that he'd do. That I found more pride in the funny, the goofiness of him than the profession. And I think that speaks to where I'm at today, because right now I find more value in the human that I am than the profession that I do. And it was a kind of just a great industry for me to go into. But no, I don't ever remember particularly saying I love architecture or I love houses. I loved people, and it connected me with so many people. And I loved being my own boss. And I loved the ability that if I was good at something, I could further myself without someone having to further me. Does that make sense? I didn't
Yes.
like the
Yes.
idea that I might be capped because I was a certain age or because I just, that's not where a 23-year-old went or a 25-year-old went. I just loved the challenge of it.
Your answers just trigger so many things. At a dinner a few nights ago, your twin said to me, "It's not about you. It's not about you." And I was thinking of the podcast that I did with you. And one of the things you asked me, what turns me on? People. And if you were to ask your father, what turns you on? People. And I think people's skills, being humble, which you've mentioned today, people's skills take you a huge way in life, not professional skills that is a certain skill set, but the ability to read, understand, and grow from people is an enormous asset. And yes, you are exceptionally good at it.
Well, you're being nice, but I think it's because I genuinely see the good in people.
Yes.
So I like it, right?
Yes.
So when you see the good in people, you're looking for them to show you good, but you're also looking to connect with them. So it fuels me. So
Yes.
it's kind of fun.
You're getting emotional again. I have to.
I get emotional with truth. So I
Yes.
don't know. I think, I've said this, my armor is down.
Yes.
This is all.
It's very aware of that.
This is me. So when I speak truth, it makes me emotional, and it may make me emotional because there's been a lot of armor up
Yes.
to that because I haven't felt safe
Right.
being truthful.
A different direction yet again, but talking about twins. To those who are not that familiar with your podcast, you have a twin brother, Elliot. The two of you were never in the same classroom going through school. We never let that happen, but you are as linked to the hip as any two people could ever be in life. Totally linked. You had one opportunity when you were looking at universities to go to a different state and a different school. And it would have been the first time you were quite literally physically away from your twin. Did that influence your decision in looking at schools?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think that we were prepared to separate at that time and take on new challenges. We'd done everything together at that point.
Yes.
Hindsight, would it have been good? We don't know.
No.
One way or another. But yeah, I also think that one of my strengths is my relationship to Elliot, and one of my weaknesses is my relationship to Elliot.
Yes, you will always have each other, and at some point you're married to each other in a way, and you're different. It's wonderful. As you get older and you're both single, there are questions that arise out of that.
Well, and that's a challenge. The truth is, as I sit in the chair, we will need, and we are working, and it's a work in progress, to create space for each other.
Yes.
At times in life, it can be difficult, and you need to be there for someone, and vice versa. The universe is a funny place. I was helping Elliot a lot 2 years ago, and people would say to me, you're so patient. And I was like, no, patience is a choice. I would always do this for my brother. But they would say, one day he'll do the same for you. And with no humbleness, I was like, I don't know how. Like, what are you talking about? How could he possibly do the same thing for me? And what I keep learning, and I'm tired of learning, so I'll try, hopefully, I'll always be learning, but hopefully I'll stop questioning, is that he has. And so don't say something can't happen or someone can't repay the favor, because
of course,
in time, life will always set you straight. And in the best possible way, I've needed him. I have needed him through this journey. But at some point, yes, there will, and there needs to be a break, and it'll happen. And, your other son, Dom, who likes to use corporate sayings, but you need to fall forward. And,
yes, you do.
And at some point, both of us will
It doesn't come to you. You have to go to it.
Both of us will fall forward with this, so that we can have a better relationship. I like to talk in truths. And one of the truths is I have an unhealthy codependency relationship with my twin brother. I can say that out loud, and I am working on it in truth to fix it.
Oh, you're saying so many things a parent can't say to you that they talk about at home. It's very interesting. Funnily enough, I thought in the questions I was going to ask you that to date, to this point in the podcast, it would have been quite light. It hasn't been. And the main point I was getting to was about the journey you have been on since it became obvious that there was some intervention needed to help Elliot to get away from a bad place. Prior to this, many traits you had, many things you do ingrained, you have given to other people of your time and finance and energy all your life since you were little. That was in you. From what you earned and the humbleness as you went forward and became successful, you've been able to enjoy the perks of an affluent person, whether they be unbelievably lovely trips, be it adventures with friends, be it meals, be it physical possessions. And the last 2 years, we've seen, and you've addressed it, it has not been enough. And in your usual style, you researched how to go to help. You read a lot. Possibly the only brother who does that, but you read a lot. You also were able to look into finding professionals for help to help you. A pretty raw question. Was some of those professionals, in your opinion, rubbish, not helpful, caused you anger, caused you to walk away, caused questions? Did that ever happen in the search for yourself?
I mean, the reason why I smile is because in search for it, you look for everything. Well, that's me. I'm curious, and I'm The way I work is I dive head in. They're like, well, there's the deep end. I'm like, well, let's just go for it. And that's my style. So the style you said was, and it was, what you're saying is a little bit of an identity shift, or understanding that material things and other things that were working in my life were no longer giving me the high, and that I wanted to find what was going to be purposeful or meaningful in my life going forward, and thus became the search for it. I was so eager. And the answer is, when you're going through it, you don't know. And I'm still going through it, and I will always be going through it. But where I sit today, it all served a purpose. It all serves a purpose. So, yes, there's been some books that didn't resonate. There's been one of my guides who I really looked up to, who, we just went different ways with. I brought a new shaman into my life that I like, that I really enjoy. I have two, I call them spiritual therapists, who I absolutely love. I have my parents, I have my brothers, I have my friends, all these things. But what I would say is, to answer the question is, it's all needed. Because if you're where you're at and you start understanding the things where you're at today, my mind is that I needed to see all those things, feel those things, learn lessons, struggle, to get to a place of love, to get to a place of understanding, to get to a place of sadness, to understand all the emotions that I now have that I suppressed. It took that. And what I can also say from it is that I think a lot of it is all the same message. It's just how you're reading it and seeing it. You don't need shamans. You don't need guides. You don't need books.
But what is the message? Love yourself. What if is there a sentence?
Yes, the message is how, in my opinion, it's so proverbial, but the word is love. It's just, how do you get to a point of loving so many different things and understanding that it's a wave? I mean, I couldn't give one word right now. I'm not, or one sentence, but I could say that what I've learned is it's a wave. It will always be a wave. And you have to, in my journey and where I'm at, is to not beat yourself up when it's, if it's a wave, when it's crashing, and to enjoy the ride when it's building.
Has it ever been difficult, because it isn't in your DNA, but to not be angry and to not be resentful? And in the therapy that you've got, are you still hiding a few things that you might like to get out verbally to others, but you're not? And is that a holding back of something that you should be releasing?
That's honestly, I think it's one of your best questions, because that's a spiritual question. Yes and no. I've never liked anger as a way of showing emotion. And again, my shaman, who I really like, who I got from Aaron Lazar, who has ALS, she's been on the show twice, who said out of anyone, Jonathan Hammond, out of Hawaii, I'm just saying, he said it was the best person he's come across. I started working with him, and it's been absolutely incredible. And he told me the other day that anger is a really good vehicle for me to move past some things. And so, not in the sense of yelling, but of saying, I'm angry about this. What am I angry about? And listing off the things that I'm angry about, not in a yelling voice.
No. But to get that energy out.
Yes. And there has been some anger of things of being let down or betrayed or disrespected, and yeah, I suppressed that because I thought anger was an ugly emotion.
Right.
And it isn't. It's a needed emotion. It's a very needed emotion. So yeah, I think that as you become more conscious and aware or comfortable or whatever words you want to use, and you can feel into the emotions you're having at a certain time, which no one teaches you, by the way, or no one taught me.
No, of course not.
Until recently, where I think they are. I mean, again, I'll reference other people who've come on the show. Jennifer Richards, who said the Compass School at 8 years old, they're teaching their kids about this stuff, which is incredible. But my point being is no one ever taught me that. And the way we were brought up, which served a great purpose, was kind of deal with it and move on, right? And I'm not saying that's bad. It's actually great in a lot of ways, but you're going to hold stuff in that mentality. And I think in today's era, and especially where I sit here today, feeling into what energetically feels right to you and knowing that, there's such power in that, because then you show up in the right manner, as opposed to,
Yes.
and I've kind of taken you in a different space here, knowing when you're not feeling a certain way, or knowing when you are feeling a certain way, and putting yourself in those positions, and then understanding what may have thrown you off. Was there a comment that upset you? Was there something? And recognizing that there's power in that.
Take it in a bigger place. You're talking to me, you're verbalizing a lot of it. There are 24 hours in a day, and it's a lonely journey. When you're talking to yourself and looking at yourself, you are going and running a business. You are running a normal life. You are going to help. You are seeing a lot of people. But there are a lot of down hours in a day when you're on your own and working it out. It's a lonely journey because you don't want to share your journey often with other people because they want to see the nice side of you. In your instance, you're the organizer of everything. I don't think I've ever been out for a meal with you where I've been allowed to choose a meal because you organize it, you do it. That's who you are. Is it very hard in the down times at home, sometimes alone? I am almost loath to bring up a subject, but it comes under my definition of, are you ever angry? We have talked on the podcast where you've had me on individually and you've had my husband and me on together. And there definitely is a lot of feeling about your past and the way you were brought up, not for the nice and the good things, but specifically for the atmosphere in the home and the arguments that made you extremely uncomfortable. I don't think today's podcast is so much about our family dynamic, but as you go forward and as you learn to cope with everything, your past is very prevalent, and anger and resentment, to me sitting here, is something I understand, and I've noticed where I, for many years, thought you loved me. Lately, with what you're going through, I have felt a slight distance of being super nice, respectful, and kind, but there's a barrier. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, I think, first of all, give yourself credit for asking or compassion for asking a really hard question. Really hard question. I think when you go through this journey and you don't have all the answers, and you may never have all the answers, and some of the answers may not matter, there's a time of just healing. There's a time of space for yourself. There's a time of understanding. And a lot of it's not personal to other people but yourself. I told you on the podcast that I have a lot of compassion to what you went through in your life. I also don't think you faced a lot of the things, traumas, as you may not or may admit, that happened in your life, because I brought that up with you. And you said, I've had no traumas. And very quickly I said, well, what about this, this, and this? And you said, okay. And I think that's so natural. Elliot, when he went to seasons, they said, you know, traumas. He said, well, trauma, maybe one trauma. And all I'm saying, I guess, is that the more I go into it, and if I get more comfortable with myself, and the proverbial, which I don't like, but love yourself, there's all happened for a reason. There's a lot of spirituality in the fact that they say, I chose you as my parents. I chose this life. I chose the way you were going to treat me, and I chose the way I would move on from this, and I chose all the experiences I'm going to get in this world, and you've provided them for me. And that was your role. And my role as a son is as a certain way for you to learn and for you to be. And I think once you get to that place, and it takes time to
I was
get
going
to
to
that
say
place.
that's a very hard place to say I chose my parents.
Well, that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying some may agree with that, some may say not. And I'm saying when you start unpacking it, and I'm not there yet, all I can say, I've gone through moments of compassion for you. I've gone through moments of anger and resentment, which I'm not going to lie, because you can feel it and sense it. I've gone through moments of quietness. I've gone through moments of just let me be, right? And I would say that, like, as a parent, it must be incredibly hard, because they're saying, what's going on? What's going on? There's a pull. Or maybe, how can I be helpful? How can I be helpful? And there are ways to be helpful. When I ask you questions or want to know more, to give honest answers in the best way possible. And I would say that the more I grow, the more I understand, the more I think I'll come to peace with the fact that you've done everything that you knew how. You were the best mom you knew how to be. Some
At
good,
the time,
some
yes.
not, but you were only a mother for the first time. That were but like, that's not like you had a run at this before. You did what you knew how to do. You came up against things that you had no clue, patterns, new relationships, different, living in different places. And so I think it's just time to settle with it. I think a lot of times people maybe later in their life want to repair relationships with their parents because they've had time to think about it, or they've gone through their own experiences and not loved how they handled it. For me, I'm just learning. And you know it, when something shocks you, you don't know how to act, And so,
Your twin said to me the other night, my reaction is to be defensive. Never see it as defensive, but a defense mechanism to somehow justify something to make it a little nicer.
well, and this is the challenge is, and I will challenge you. Your defense mechanisms, or the way you act, or the way you respond to things, have been wired in your head for a long time. They are patterns. You have no idea except how the way you see it. You have always seen it. You don't see it as defensive. I could tell you a million times that's defensive. But if you don't want to admit that that's defensive, it will never be
Well, I
defensive.
learned this week, age 79, that I'm defensive.
Well, you can be open to that. And that's what growth is. And that's what looking inside is, to say, and that's why people don't want to do it.
It's hard work.
But it's hard to admit, oh, that might be ugly. Oh, I might not like that. Oh, I was like that. That's where people would rather and protect around it or do different things. And that's why when someone's incredibly rude, do you think they know that they're being rude? Probably not, right? Or ignorant, or some of these things they don't know. It's just, that's all they know. That's what they think. And that there's no outside appearance to that. And so that's my work. When I was running at 1,000 miles an hour and no time for someone, I thought that was perfectly normal. I thought what I was doing was just normal, but that was my pattern. And so only when I realized that it wasn't necessarily serving me, do you take a step back and say, ooh. And so the answer to your question is, I'm learning, I'm growing. And maybe for you, you can have compassion. I can have compassion that that some wounds heal in minutes and some wounds take time. And it's hard not to take it personally. But the people that love you and that you love won't take it personally.
Are you angry now?
Yes. When I am in a difficult place, I'm angry.
It's not visible. It's inside.
But this is why it's also time constrained. The anger is good. It's not bad anger. We associate anger as being bad. And I think the anger will push me through. The anger is the path through to say, yeah, maybe I am angry. Maybe I am angry. But if I reach a point in my life that I couldn't have reached without going through this stuff, they say with contrasting things, dark and light, the darker you go, the lighter you can go. The bigger the contrast. So maybe it's TBD. Maybe it's like, from all this, I get the best joy of my life at times. I get the greatest love at times. I get such high frequencies that I never would have got if I didn't experience the things I experienced. And so if I can have that mindset and that belief, well, I should just be thanking you.
We've talked about our definition of trauma. We have different definitions of what trauma is versus something
you
lesser.
Thought trauma was some massive traumatic event in your life.
Yes.
And I said to you, that's your opinion. And to me, I said, that is your opinion of what your definition. But we also looked it up in the dictionary together. And it doesn't have to be something that's that mega. It's just something that's changing. That's something that's pretty altering or dramatic in your life, And so the answer is yes. And when you sit with yourself, you start learning a lot more about yourself. And it's incredibly difficult. And it is, yes, it can be a very lonely place. And
I hate to tell you, I've been doing this for years. I have a lot of time on my hands. And you look at, it's introspective, you look into, but it's healthy. You can't grow unless you do it. There has to be a positive at the end of looking into yourself. It doesn't work otherwise.
Well, and while I was smiling while you asked me that question, is it actually felt more projecting than asking, because it's something you felt.
Yes.
And so as you were asking me the question, I could tell it's actually something you felt in your life, and you're wondering if it's a me too.
Yes.
Which it absolutely is. And
which
it
is what we want for the audience to hear. Me too.
The hardest thing is when you don't see it coming. When you see something coming, it can be hard, but it's not life-altering sometimes. When you don't see it coming is what's difficult. And that's what I keep imploring on the audience, on my friends, is like, do the things, listen to people, listen to podcasts, listen to people who've gone through it, practice these things that will help, because I can't tell you how many people have told me, I was never lonely till the day I was lonely.
Yes.
I was never sad or depressed till the day I was sad or depressed.
Yes.
And when it hits and you don't, or you haven't used the tools, it's very hard to start using the tools when you don't feel well.
Yes.
It's really easy to use tools when you feel good.
How would your friends describe you? How do you think you are? You have a very close-knit, small group of very solid friends. If one of them was asked to describe you, or one or two of them, they may have very different opinions of you.
I think
in general,
I think right now in my life, they would describe me as a deep thinker and someone who is making changes in their life, challenging changes in their life, because I've shared that with them. I think before they would have labeled me as a thoughtful, hardworking, dependable, high energy, happy person. All things I still am today, sitting in this chair.
Yes.
But the two things that I said before are the two things I wanted to put into my life that feel very, very authentic to me, and that I want people to see over those things now. So I don't want them to see me as a hard worker. I don't want them to see me as a people pleaser. I don't want them to see me as a fixer, right? I'd rather them see me, which makes me emotional again, truth, as someone who cares, as someone who will ask the question, but also be vulnerable in response, right? So it's like, that's the me too. And I think my armor was up because I just wasn't comfortable going there.
You weren't ready to go there.
Yes.
You take steps towards hoping you reach that something place. It doesn't exist, really, does it?
I'm smiling because more of it's an awareness to say, you hope you get these magnificent events that are life-changing, light comes down from the sky and you're cured, you're healed, you're enlightened, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how it works. And it could work for you. And if it does, great. But you keep working at it and you keep working at it. And then eventually you're like, whoa, I'm calmer. I'm more at peace. I'm more aware. You're never there, right? And things can take, but that's the truth. And I think that's why there's so much fear in it, right? Because at a certain age, you want results. You want to know when the end of the road is there. You want to know when you've
Yes.
reached it. And in this work, there's none of that. There's none of that. Dom, who's so great with helping in certain things, has helped me liken it to a marathon.
Dominic being Alex's older brother,
Yeah.
one older brother.
Likening it to a marathon. And there's so many great ways he can liken it to a marathon. And the worst way it is marathons are 26 miles, I guess, so I'm told. So when you're going to end the marathon.
Yes.
You don't know. There's no end. There's no end. And so I'm becoming more comfortable, but what that required out of me was all the things that I lacked and are still lacking, or were my shadow work, or were the things that I was avoiding, letting go of control, patience, a softness, slowing down, just things that I had no desire to do, bringing in feminine energy, which I never would have thought I'd ever say in my life, and
pity, I would have liked that.
fair, and or being vulnerable, all the things, and the reason I'm so comfortable.
Every one of those, you've listed them fast, but every one of them is a pretty major topic on its own, a pretty major thing on its own.
Well, and that's where I need to A, have compassion for myself, but B, slow down, because that's my right. I want to go, 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 go. And like you said, those are big things. Those aren't fix in a month things, fix in 6 months things. And that's what I'm used to. I think a lot of people who are high energy, high producing people get it done, solve things. That's the way they want it. This work doesn't work like that. And I'm constantly reminded of that. You said when you're by yourself, I'm constantly reminded of that every single day.
Yes. Yes.
And that's really difficult. And
alone time to think.
Well, and when you're used to seeing production in the terms of material things or things that you can see, volume, and this doesn't happen, you have no way of knowing what's working, what's not working. And you have no way of thinking, when you have a slow day, am I getting left behind? Am I not doing what I used to do? Am I not the Alex Perry of old? Right? Do I care to be the number one agent in Dallas? No. I care to be good at my job and service my clients. That can come with being a top agent in Dallas. But no, I don't. In fact, I'd rather be a balanced individual who has time to sit and have a great conversation with my clients than the person that had 10 minutes at every showing.
Yes, of course.
But that takes time.
Yeah.
At 28, I want it all.
You talked about it comes with age, it comes with knowledge, it comes with all of that.
And I share that with other people so that they can enjoy the ride in a sensible, more fluid way than I did.
Well, you're a changing man, and I'm going to change topics and hopefully put a smile on your face. And that is, like many other families, we are a family who absolutely loves their dogs. I think in many instances when life isn't perfect, we are our most perfect selves when we interact with our pets. We are the most loving, the most giving, the most open, the most everything. Every breed of dog is different. Every child is different. You cannot send a child to obedience school. You can send a dog. But you've got to bring children and dogs up with discipline, with love, with spoiling, with over the top, with all sorts of things put into it. Your dog is your child. The way your dog behaves is how you're bringing up a child. How would you rate yourself as a father to your two beautiful children, your dogs?
That's a great question. I mean, I think personally they'd rate me as a scale from 1 to 10. I think they'd rate me as a 10.
Absolutely.
Because
They have mink coats.
because of how I take care of them. I could laugh at that.
Well, it's an upbringing question.
You let your children get away with murder because you love your children. The interesting thing about my relationship with the dogs, and I'm going to take it to a different place with it, is their energy is based off my energy.
Of course.
And when I was very masculine, Caesar fought me hard, and he doesn't fight me as hard as anymore.
For those who don't know, these are two little Italian greyhounds,
my pride and
who
joy.
have
Right there.
great personalities.
But yeah, so I mean, look, I would say that your children are your children. So my dogs are the best. They can't do harm. They're everyone's favorite at school. They're the best looking. They're the most regal. Everyone should want to be their friends. And
Or would they get invited to birthday parties? Would
them,
they behave?
One of them not. And I just think it's funny that one of them is as masculine as it gets, and one of them, you know, our dad still calls she, so it has such a feminine side to it. And it's like, you know, without getting too in the, you know, in the weeds, they represent me. They're my kids. One's the most playful one in the world. One says screw off half the time. And it's like, that's probably a little bit of me, right? And one of them will, you know, eat out of your pocket, and one of them, they're just huge personalities. And so they're barking on cue. I love them. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
I like that. I am going to end the podcast. You very generously always make a donation to a charity of your choice. So I personally will make a donation to your charity of choice. So what would that charity be?
That's nice. That's really nice. It's what our family right now is so involved with. It has to be St. Jude's because Dom, our brother, is chairing the Dallas St. Jude's events for the next 2 years. We're going to the event, going to a golf event Monday, another event next week. And anytime you bring up St. Jude's, and I've been to St. Jude's, you know, helping a child with cancer, there's nothing, there's a lot of good charities, but that one is always going to be on top.
Having recently got a little involved with it, it's such a easy charity to have people support you in any way they can. There isn't a person on earth who doesn't relate to a family or a child going through a cancer diagnosis. So I'm absolutely delighted. I have the most wonderful feeling towards the end of this podcast because I feel I have been as much a guest as I have been a host, and Alex has been as much a host as he has been a guest. So I feel our session together has been mutually beneficial. I hope for you as an audience that you get the best of both of us as host and guest from Alex and Joe.
I love that. And I'll add to it. Maybe it's a call out to the audience to go sit down with your mom or your dad. And it doesn't have to be this serious. This felt a little bit like a therapy session,
It
which
did feel,
but will we grow from it?
yes. Oh, and how?
And so, was it uncomfortable? Was it tough?
It was thought-provoking, which is what it must be. You can't stand still.
But what I'm saying is it's a challenge. It's not the most comfortable thing. And some people have had these conversations with their parents already, and great for that. We had not. Yeah, it's a growth vehicle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Alex Perry on Fire. It means so much to me and the wonderful team that makes this all possible. I'm now passing the flame to you. Please follow, like, and subscribe so you can always stay up to date. Thanks again, and stay fired up.